VoxWave now features a streaming radio media player on our website's front page, where local artists can get their music played 24/7. For more information on getting your music in rotation or to perform live at our studio, contact Reg Gaskins at 240-832-4455.
Android users, the VoxWave app is now available in the Google Play Store. Download the app today on your Android device to listen in and view programs.
Business owners looking for a place to advertise your business and promote your products and services? VoxWave is the right place. We have over 10,000 views a day and 70,000 listeners a month. For more information, contact Reg Gaskins at 240-832-4455.
The world's #1 streaming music station, VoxWave.com.
We have your favorite shows on VoxWave.com. Check out our lineup. The Kim Show, Mondays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. In the End We Win with Curtis, Mondays, 8:15 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. Cooking with Flavors with your host, Chef Flavors, Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Slick Daddy Rick, Heartbeat Congo Hour, Tuesday, 8 to 10 p.m. Impact the World Radio TV Show with Cheryl Woods, Wednesday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. The Digital Digest with your host, Digital Ace, Wednesdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Live Set Wednesdays with your host, Frank Dent, Wednesdays, 8 to 9 p.m. The BGKH Show with your hosts, Dominion and Epic, Wednesdays, 9:15 to 10:15 p.m. You, Math, and Me with George Randall, Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Then, on Thursdays at 5:30 p.m., The Prayer, Praise, and Deliverance with Elder Thurman Gorman Jr., The 640 Evening Show, Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. The Peace in the Morning Show with your host, Darius A. Stanton, co-host, Delicate Daryl Barnes, and Queen Ayakidobi, Fridays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Hall Street Journal with your host, Robert Hall, and co-host Clarence Sanders, Fridays, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Frank, The Success Principles, Friday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. Shaynel's 3 Cents, Friday, 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. The Daryl Allen Harrison II Crime Victims Foundation Show, hosted by Daryl Harrison II, every Friday from 3 to 4:30 p.m. The Rush Hour with DJ Drew and Janique, every Friday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Different Minds Show, hosted by DJ Bam 640 and DJ Andre Michael, and your co-host, MC Fran, every Friday, 9:15 p.m. to 11:15 p.m. The Healer Blues Show, with host Ron Jackson, every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Hour of Power, with your host, Reverend Winters Rogers, every Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And again, the Prayer, Praise, and Deliverance with Elder Thurman Gorman Jr., Saturday, 11 p.m. to 12 p.m. And don't forget Four Sisters Live Talk, Saturday at 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. Turning dreams into reality talk show with your host, Tashika L. Green, every second Saturday, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Walk in Newness 24/7 with Missionary Antoinette, Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. News, ULM, news and analysis, information, sports, and black history. With your news anchor, Roderick Carter Willis, 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Step your game up with the Youth Project, hosted by DJ Main and DJ Low Hefe, Saturday, 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And don't miss The To Go Show with Kim Brown, Saturdays 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. I am Dr. Sharon Show, each Sunday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., featuring The Grind, Entrepreneur Network Spotlight, and Write the Book Now. The Riri Williams Show, Fashion and Style Hour, every first Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Real Talk 101, Sundays 6 to 8 p.m. And every third Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m., the Third Sunday Tea Talk Show with Dr. Akita Pearson. Gospel Live TV Show with host Gloria Mello, each Sunday from 8:15 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. Listen to all your favorite shows on VoxWave.com.
VoxWave.com.
VoxWave.com, streaming your favorite jazz, blues, and R&B 24/7.
welcome to this week's edition of Shaynel's 3 Cents. I am your host, Shaynel Caldwell, and we will be talking today about quite a few things. But first, of course, we're going to get into my little spiel about what's been on my mind this week. Well, there's been a lot of activity going on in the world of politics, and I love politics. And I happened to come across an individual the other day while grocery shopping that was actually picking up a magazine and was reading the commentary, and this individual tossed the magazine to the side and said, "I can't stand this stuff. I just can't get into this political information, and I can't deal with it." And the person standing next to them, ironically, fell into an immediate agreement that, yeah, this is wrong, that's why I don't vote, I don't worry about this, and that. So for those of you that don't get into politics, or for those of you that are on the fence about what's going on in society, whether it be your local government, state government, or federal, right now everything is very interesting on the federal front, i.e. all things regarding our Congress, some Senate seats that are up, and also things going on with our president. The first thing that I really wanted to do is I really wanted to look at this person, give them my good side eye, and roll my head with my whole angry black woman spiel. But I couldn't do that because everything that I do is about improving ourselves, making sure that, I'm self-aware, making sure that I'm doing what I can to make sure that I'm read up on current events, to make sure that I'm constantly evaluating myself. Hey, Shaynel, this is who you were, last year. This is who you were 5 years ago. And these are the steps that you're taking to be a better person for this year and next year. So going back to all of that, angry black woman stare, side eye, it was really disappointing. And I was able to catch up to this person in the parking lot and say, hey, I heard what you said, but I want to know if you had a minute to chat about it. And fortunately, it could be because the person had some issues in the line that I also addressed, which we're not going to bring up here. But ultimately, the point that I want to make is you have to be involved in politics. You have to read about it. You have to stay focused on what's going on, not primarily in your community, but also what's going on in your state. Everything that happens to you, I hear people talking all the time about, dang, my gas is so high. I can't believe I pulled up at the gas station and gas was $3. Or I can't believe I can't get this apartment. We went and tried to get an apartment and the rent was $1,500 or the rent was $2,000 and they wanted me to pay this much as far as a deposit. And or I can't understand why I can't get my kid in this school. The school in our district has some bad ratings on teachers. It has bad ratings on the crime in this particular area, and so I want to transfer my kid to another school, but the district won't let me. Surprise! All those things evolve around politics. Everything that you do has something to do with politics. Again, the money that you pay for your rent, the interest that you pay when you're picking up cars, when you're renting cars, how much tax you pay when you go to the restaurants. Those of us that live in DMV also know that this is a new alcohol tax for those of us that do a little drink. But all these things are based upon issues that were raised somewhere starting in somebody's county that escalated up to the city, the state, and the federal government. So on one of those levels, you missed out on something. And I'm a big proponent of you can't complain about it if you didn't contribute to it. If you toss it to the side, you scroll past it on your Twitter feed, you dismissed it when your neighbor tried to talk to you about it, but you have to be conscious of what's going on in the world of politics. This isn't to say that for those of you on my homies know, look, on my hood side, that you have to be entrenched in it all day long. You don't have to run around with the newspaper trying to worry about, what the New York Times said or the Washington Post said, but you at least need to be aware. I recommend that if you don't have additional social media outlets, whether it's Facebook, and I know some of the younger folks are kind of have expressed need to learn about that, or rather the young folks, they're all moving to Snapchat and all that good stuff, but you have to have some type of commentary where you're connected to social media. So again, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, some fashion. I also know some people that get a lot of news from, and I don't want to say world stars, so Lord forgive me, but people that get information from YouTube, and you're watching different channels on YouTube about what's going on. So make sure you stay connected. These are the only ways that we get informed about what's going on. Unless, of course, you're locked into the political world and you're keeping in touch with the folks that are your county delegates, the people that are running for office, and or the people that currently sit in office, whether you get the mailers that they send, you've attended events that they've hosted, but we have to stay connected because if there is an issue, and these are issues that come up all the time, let's discuss whether or not your Pepco bill is going to be increased and whether or not we're going to change the carrier that's going to feed you your gas. I'm sure a lot of us are not aware that there are multiple providers where we get our energy from. while most of us just know Pepco, you also may get the people that are knocking at your door saying, hey, we can lower your payment on your electric, or we can lower the payment on your gas if you connect to us. You need to know who those people are and who they represent, and whether or not that's going to come back and bite you and cost you money in the long run, or if it's just going to save you a little bit of money on the front end. So again, please understand that staying connected to what's going on in the political world on any level, county, state, city, local, whatever, make sure you stay connected, because it's going to come back and you'll be sorry that you weren't involved in it. So circling around on the second part of staying involved in the world of politics, I found it quite interesting to see that not only is our president embroiled in quite a few battles about whether or not we're going to go to war with Syria, whether or not we're going to have additional interests or tariffs or some other type of disciplinary action concerning the issues with Russia, and whether or not there'll eventually be sanctions. He's also involved in some additional alleged collusion with regard to keeping secrets and or paying off people using political funds. Those are things that you may have heard. Be mindful that you need to be aware, but you might not need to be. Whether or not these things are going to affect whether the gas on your corner of Sunoco is going to go up, whether or not your favorite place to eat, the Copper Canyon, whether taxes there are going to increase, and or whether or not when you go to the grocery store and you're trying to buy fruit, whether or not the cost of the fruit is going to be increased, because a lot of the fruit that we get comes outside of our country. So again, all these things kind of are interconnected. Some things you don't need to pay attention to, but other things keep an ear out for. And if it's something that you're not accustomed to discussing with folks, and or you feel that it's outside of your realm, or it's something that you're not comfortable with, simply ask someone and or Google it. Like I said, one of my favorite phrases from young people is GTS. Google it and see what you can find out. For those of my friends that sit in academia, we also know that as important as it is to Google things, you want to make sure that you're reading from a credible source. You don't just want to read and take the first thing that pops up on the internet. That's something that we used to say back in the day, who you going to trust, me or your lying eyes? That Richard Pryor fans. But check and see who you're getting the information from. A simple synopsis: if you're an individual that goes to get your car fixed, there's something wrong with my car. Are you taking your car to Best Buy to have your car looked at? Probably not. Are you taking your car down to the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru to see, what the guy can tell you about your car? You're probably not going to do that either. So you want to make sure that you find a credible source. I always make the reference to that when people try to tell me about something, I always ask them, what's their knowledge base? Well, where did you get that from? What's your experience with that? So again, we're going to continue on that to make sure that you are aware that there's lots of information out there, but you want to make sure that you get the best information. It's such a bad feeling to come to the table and have the wrong documents. It's a bad feeling to come to the party and you have on the wrong outfit. So make sure you're getting this information from a credible source, but make sure you stay connected, make sure you stay informed, and be on the lookout for what's happening, because these are things that ultimately affect our families. These are things that affect our jobs. They ultimately affect our livelihood and our hobbies. And again, keep in touch, stay in tune, because these things will affect you eventually. And with that, we're going to go to this short break, and then we'll come right back with hopefully a guest today, or we'll probably go into our lineup and read through some of the nice, or rather what I call nicety emails that I get. See you back here in just a second.
I'm wishing, boy, I've got my eyes on you. This mystery is thrilling. I'm not sure just what to do. And ooh, that's so wasted. It's no mirage to me. Touching gently, feel the love in me. Tell me what you're gonna do with my loving. I'm crazy about your smiling eyes. What you gonna do with
again, welcome back. And again, thanks for tuning in. So this afternoon, we will not be having a guest. Unfortunately, you'll be stuck with me for the duration of the hour going through what I call, again, some of my nicety emails. And nicety is the derivative of a term nice and nasty. And so it's kind of circling back to the newly created, newly generated, frequently used word petty. So I do get a lot of petty emails. And again, I'm appreciative for everything. The Christian woman in me, it doesn't matter what happens to me, it doesn't matter what I end up going through, but I'm going to be grateful in it because hopefully people are learning and they'll be growing from these experiences if they want to change. And if you don't want to change, that's on you, boo. You're more than welcome to continue sitting in the area that you're sitting in, and we'll just go from there. So one of the emails that I got, and this is from Sheila S., and I liked her email. It didn't start off nicely, but we'll go from there. She says, Miss Shay, having a hard time understanding why you feel, having a hard time understanding, and there might be some other issues in here, why you feel that it's okay to promote mothers and not fathers. You need to do more for mothers and less for fathers. And again, reading through that kind of caught me off guard because I thought that, well, one, maybe she didn't fully review what's going on my website and the information that I present out there, and or she probably doesn't follow me on all of my social media platforms. And I have not yet responded to any of these that I'm talking about because, of course, hopefully we'll see if there's some comments that the viewers, you on Facebook Live, if you'd like to add to that, and maybe I can utilize some of that additional information and or some of those perspectives to respond. But in the interim, I'm going to share with you my thoughts around that. And I hate to say this, but I'm doing this because she loves it. First of all, I don't just help moms and I don't just help dads. Everything that I do is based upon helping families in general. As a certified family life educator, we look at everything that encompasses families, whether it's societal issues that surround your finances, bankruptcy, education and or your lack of education, your health, your mental health, whether or not your physical health is good, whether or not there are drug issues that may be intervening, you may be seeing them in the family. All those things affect how our families operate. Whether or not you have one parent, whether or not you have two parents, or whether or not you have parents that are there that aren't effectively helping to raise the children, those are all things that we look at, and those are all things that OBF is going to address by connecting with a lot of the resources that we have. I've said this before and I'm going to continue to say it. I don't have all the answers, but I always will have an opinion about something, which is one of the reasons why I try to keep connected to some of the awesome organizations within the DMV. So if there's some information that you've gotten from me that you might not like, feel free and please go to my website for my resource page so that you can see and get information from the other awesome people that I work with and people that we support and have collaborations with. So going back into her question, you may see that I focus a lot on fathers, and the simple reason for that is we simply don't have a lot of organizations that do things for fathers nowadays. There are a ton of resources out there for women, and I say this with self-assurity, there are a ton of resources for women. A lot of this dates back to the 1950s. For those of you that may be aware, after the wars were recessed and the fathers were coming home from the war, all the men coming back, we also realized that there were a lot of men that didn't come back. There were a lot of women that were widowed, that had children, that didn't have service, and they didn't have means to provide for themselves. And so the government obviously took notice of that and started creating a lot of these programs. And so that's where we ended up with more entitlement programs, such as additions to Social Security, setting up, I don't think they called them TANF back then, but setting up TANF and welfare programs to make sure that women had a good way to take care of their kids, make sure that they have financial means, ways to get clothes, ways to get shelter, ways to get food, ways that they had access to other programs to make sure that our women were taken care of. And it wasn't really something also as a society that we viewed that men needed help doing. We still tend to think that, you know, men, they're so awesome, they're so strong, they have all their stuff together. If you're a conscious woman, you know that's not true. And some of my conscious male viewers, you know that's not true as well. We all need help at some form of time, some form and or time frame. It pains me to also say this, that, and some of my sisters are going to be upset, but it is very hard for a black man. As a black woman, I have no problem saying that. I know that and I shared this with my mother the other day, but she got a chuckle out of it. My aunt told me when I was 14 years old that I shouldn't be sitting on anything that I can't sell. And I'm, trying to figure out, is there something special about the chair that I'm sitting in, or, the pants I have on or something? I didn't get it. And it wasn't until later on that night that she explained it to me. And again, as my 14-year-old virginal self, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I get that. But that is to say, if we want something as a woman, chances are you can get it. You can get it from another woman, you can get it from another man, but chances are you can get it. For our black men, it's a lot more difficult for them. One, they have this huge thing that many of us it's easy for women to get over. It's called pride. Men, it's more difficult for them to get over that. So we have to be increasingly conscious that black men don't deal with the things that we deal with as black women. And for those of you that still have these iterations that, no, we're all the same, we're not all the same. And we're never going to be the same. That wasn't how God made us. He didn't make us all so that we could think the same. He didn't make us all so that we could have the same perspective. He didn't make us all so that we see everything the same way. I'll give you one of the best examples that I have. Church. Go to church. I love my church. A lot of us do in the black community. But that doesn't mean that we always agree with everything that's going on in the church. We may not agree with the administration, what's going on. We may not agree with something that our pastor says. We may not agree with something one of the deacons said, or how they're running the youth programs or something. But most of us can agree that we love the Lord. And that's what's most important, that you agree on one primary thing, and that's the main thing. The other things, again, are things that we can deal with as simple as, well, you know what? Maybe we'll miss this Sunday, or we won't attend that program, and or maybe I'll join another ministry, and or maybe I'll stop going to church 4 days a week, and maybe I'll just go 2 or something like that. But none of us are always going to agree on any one thing. But for the important things, you want to make sure that you're seeing things for what they are. So going back to Sheila's comment, men, our fathers, need a lot more help than our women, which is how I got into that. Same thing. For those of you that may not know, I came into this because of being a non-custodial parent, and it didn't dawn on me that all the stuff that I went through because my kids were with their dad and my stepwife, I was the non-custodial parent. I was quote unquote the man. So I sat in the back like, well, dang, who's going to help me? Who can talk to me while my friends are giving me the eye? How come you don't have your kids? While the courts are saying, well, how come you ain't paying your money for the kids? I'm sitting there like, well, dang, what is it that I can do? How do I find out who can help me and who can provide some support and services? And so that's why I do the things that I do for our fathers. Now, going back into things for mothers, actually I'm partnering with quite a few awesome groups of folks that do programs and projects for single moms. And so if you're interested, again, go back to my webpage and you can get some information about them. One of our guests, or actually our guest is coming on next week, Miss Rochelle McAllister. She works with an organization called Single Parents Alliance. And she has an awesome program that's coming up, and we'll be talking about that as well. But please know and rest assured that there are services out there for everyone. I am merely trying to emphasize additional services for our men who usually have a hard time asking for help in that area. So second, let's go down to another nice little email that I got. This is from Tammy R. And Tammy wants to know, when is it safe to bash her baby daddy? Some baby daddies need to be told about themselves, and I'd like to know when the best time to do that. I actually like that email, one, because it sounded like Tammy was being honest about having some frustrations and dealing with her child's father. And the simple answer is, there's never really a good time to do it, but I'm a big proponent of making sure that you discipline and discuss issues when they are necessary. I also liken this to dog training. And this isn't to say that I'm calling women dogs or I'm calling men dogs, but dog training is one of the best examples that I can use about discipline. And for those of you that have dogs, follow me on this and then let me know if you think that I'm on the right track or if you disagree a little bit later. If a dog comes into your room and your dog poos on the floor, you don't see the poo because you're at work. So when you come home, you see the poo in the room. What do? Do you grab the dog then and rub their nose in it and tell them bad dog, bad dog? Or do you dismiss it and wait till you catch them the next time? If you have more than one dog, how do you know which dog did the poop? And how do you address it from that standpoint? Most dog owners will agree that you have to catch the dog in the act and discipline them right then and there, because dogs have a short memory span. They want to make sure that they understand, because when you come home, the first thing that they're probably going to do is run up to you and kiss you and jump on you, and then the first thing you're doing is hitting them, and they're trying to figure out, why are you hitting me? So if I run to you when you come home, you're going to hit me, so maybe I wouldn't do that again. And that's not necessarily what you want to train your dogs to do. And that goes back into how we talk to people. You want to make sure that you talk to them when the instance occurs, and or at another time if you think it's going to occur again. With the father, if there's something that the father did, i.e. picking up the kid late from school, if you're unable to have that conversation because you missed it, just keep note of it. Make sure you're monitoring, well, was he 5 minutes late? Do you really want to get into an argument about being 5 minutes late, or was he an hour late? So you also want to look at the extremes. If the dad was supposed to pay his child support and he was supposed to pay you $100 for the week, and he either paid nothing or he paid $75, are you going to run into a rage about the $75 because he paid something, or do you have a legitimate gripe to say, hey, well, you didn't give any, and so that's what we need to discuss? And so, even though it kind of sounds like I'm on the cusp of saying one thing but really the other, I'm a proponent of make sure you know what you're talking about, and make sure that you have information to back it up, and more importantly, watch how you say it. It's always a good idea to make sure that you're keeping in contact with your children's parents, whether or not it's the mom or it's the dad, but you want to make sure you keep in touch with them. Keeping in touch is one thing. Being nasty, petty, and trifling is a whole nother thing. I'm never going to agree with you on, I had to tell him this and this, and you doing it like this, or the father, I had to tell that B, yada, 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 yada. I'm not having that either, okay? Because none of us is going to listen when somebody's yelling at you. The only time that you're going to listen when someone's being a tad bit rude and nasty is if they're paying you. And when I say paying you, the people that you work for. So if your boss says a little something off to you, you may take that a lot better than someone else that isn't paying all your bills. So keep that in mind. It's always important to have conversations about things that also affect your kids. So again, if he's an hour late, coming to pick up your kids, that's absolutely something that you want to talk to him about, but you want to go into it with a positive attitude. Hey, was everything okay? We noticed that you were late. Something wrong with your car? Did you get off work late or something like that? So again, it goes into the communication and how you say it. I think he's going to receive that much better than you saying, MF, where were you? Our kids were sitting outside for all this time, and this is why I don't like you, yada, yada. That's not going to go over well, but you certainly want to address the issue, because yes, something may have come up. And or on the opposite scale, maybe he just forgot, or maybe he was busy picking up his other 3 kids. You don't know, but you won't get an answer unless you say it in a positive fashion. So going back to Tammy's comments about when's a good time to bash, it's never a good time, but the good time and the best time to do it is when you've got the information together and that you've done it in a proper and appropriate fashion. I'm always going to be a big advocate of making sure, one, as I said before, you know what you're talking about, but 2, being mindful that people make mistakes. I'm reminded of when I first brought, probably my son, my oldest child, home from the hospital, and I was giving him a bath in the sink, and I remember that I forgot to check the temperature of the water. And I was excited, new mom. I was like, oh, my baby. And I got my Smell Good bath powder and Smell Good baby shampoo and all this good stuff. And as soon as I brought the water onto my son's chest with a big smile on my face, he starts screaming. I'm like, oh my God, something's wrong with my baby. I forgot to check the water temperature. And so, yes, I ended up scalding my little white baby because he was a little white baby. He's still kind of white right now, but that's okay. But again, I made that mistake, and it hurt me to my heart for literally weeks when I remembered. I looked at him, and thank God it didn't burn him. We didn't have to go to the hospital again. He was just a little red, and he was okay maybe 10 minutes after that. But that's not something that I would have hoped my ex-husband would have tried to send me to jail for. That's not something that I hope that, my neighbors would have called the police and CPS, Child Protective Services, on me because I made a minimal mistake. Yes, it caused harm to my child, but it wasn't great harm, something that he didn't get over, and certainly something that didn't traumatize him for the rest of our lives. And so when we look at things that the other parent does that might not be good, Again, you want to look at the extreme. Is this something that you need to go to the police about? Is this something that you need to go tell all your family members, your neighbors? Oh, he bought her the wrong size shoe. He got a lot of nerve. He knows she don't wear that size shoe. Again, it's the extreme. How severe is it? And that's something that we need to start assessing. Put that to the side, whether or not you like your baby mama or whether or not you can't stand your baby daddy, but you want to be careful of how you talk about them, because one, that stuff stays in the atmosphere, and two, it also grows on you. And those are things that you're going to let sit and simmer and possibly continue to create a negative relationship between the two of you. So you want to be careful of the extreme that you want to use on this person's not doing a good job for my child. Also, feel free to try to step up and help out wherever you can if that person's falling short. So if dad's car broke down and he can't pick up your child, or mom doesn't have a ride to pick up your child or bring the child back, try to step up yourself. Hey, well, do you need me to come get the child? Or do you need me to send my sister? Or do you want me to send my mom? Make sure you invest and utilize your community. You don't want to potentially mess up a budding relationship, a growing relationship, something that you probably will need to cultivate for the next 15, 12, 10 years of your life because you have a young child. But you want to make sure that you're offering support, because the support doesn't just go to that person, it goes to you. And when you do good for someone and or you excuse them and allow them the ability to make a mistake, because we're all going to do it and we're probably going to make some more, it makes things better for both of you. That ties into the next comment that I got, and this was from a gentleman. He wanted to know whether or not he should go to court because his child's mother has, and I'm not going to say his name because this is a little close to home, but he wanted to know whether or not he should go back to court because his child's mother is dating a guy that he knows is involved in gang activity and or he says possible gang activity. I really like that question. It's a very good question. Unfortunately, it's something that's extremely relative nowadays. We know that there are a lot of things going on in the street, whether or not, you're one of those gentlemen, the guy down in Mexico. If you connected down there, you're probably not connected down there. But hey, if you're selling stuff on the streets, selling weed, crack, or anything like that, you're walking around with guns, you walk around on the corner, with known gang members, people that are on active probation and or parole, then absolutely that's a cause for concern. And I say that not only to the dads, but also to the moms, because those are people that are around your children, and particularly if they're exposed to your children for long periods of time. These are people that you have coming into your house, people that are giving you rides back and forth to work or back and forth to school. But again, people that you know, and we all know, all of us had that cousin Dede or Mookie that do a little something on the side. While you can't stop them from what they're doing, you can mitigate your exposure to it, and you can mitigate their exposure. It starts with, first thing, opening your mouth, asking a question. Some things are just word of mouth. Oh, I heard somebody say this, and I heard somebody say this. Well, people are going to talk, and that's not going to stop. But you want to make sure that you have the information first. Hey, do you have a minute to talk about such and such and such? I wanted to make sure everything was okay. Want to make sure if there's anything that I could do. Wanted to make sure that you were all right, because that may be this person's only method of transportation going to work. And if you have a problem with that, how about you come up with a solution, or at least help her come up with a solution? You know what? Why don't you borrow my car? And or how about let me call your Uber today, and maybe, I can see if I can, loan you some money until you get your car working or until you can get another bus pass or something like that. But you never want to go in directly, again, with this, the nasty talking, the berating, and you also don't want to go into a situation from something based off of something that you heard and or something that you think you saw. And so looking at the gentleman's comments and circling back, should I go to court? No. You should talk to her. You should ask your children's mother, what's going on? Is everything okay? Because again, that might be all that she has. There should never be any shame in asking someone any questions. Again, what I said earlier is how you ask the question. It's how you pose a question to the person. And then you want to keep in mind, going to court should always be your last resort. One of my very best friends, and I'm going to hurt her because I know she's busy, my friend Alexis Dobbins. Alexis actually works in the counseling realm and helps people talk about all things related to whether or not you need to adjust your custody agreement, whether or not you need to adjust the money that's going between two parents to effectively take care of children. But you want to make sure that you're keeping in touch with people on a level of respect, because I see who you are, I respect who you are. I'm just in disagreement with with what I hear you're doing and or what I think that you're doing. So you want to, again, take it from that standpoint. Help out if you can, and if you can't do it because you feel some kind of way about it, or your new girl feels some kind of way about it, again, enlist your village. See if it's something that your mom can help out with. See if it's something your cousins can help out with. See if it's something that her neighbor can help out with. But again, going to court should be your last resort. Okay. Any questions, Facebook Land? You have questions, even though I won't be answering them right now. But I always love to get these type of emails, because I think that it's important for us to not only have a second opinion, but two, to also try to see in someone else's shoes and see what they're going through. Okay, this should be a good one. Okay, this is from Lindsay, Lindsay. Lindsay. Lindsay said that she saw one of my posts last year on Father's Day, and she did not appreciate that I said that she could not call herself her kid's father, because she has two kids. Her kids do not know, her kids do not know their father. I think she says one is in prison and one doesn't have time for them, but she's the only parent that both of the kids have known. And so she feels that it's appropriate for her to be able to call herself the kid's father and to take in whatever accolades she may feel that may be coming her way for Father's Day. I'm glad you typed that in, Lindsay, even though it's a little late, but we're also coming up on Father's Day, so I'm happy to make commentary about that, and I certainly will be responding to you on Facebook if you're probably not watching. That is my pet peeve, one of my largest pet peeves. As a woman, you are not the mother and the father. You are one or the other. You can only be a mother. You cannot be a father. Same as a dad. I know plenty of men who have raised their children since birth because they were either widowed or their moms left or whatever the situation was. You can only be the father. And I'll start my response from a Christian perspective and or an evolutionary perspective. Those of you, again, my scientist folks and that follow Darwin and all his teachings about evolution. You either have female genitalia or you have male genitalia. There are very few percentage of the population, I think it's 0.07 of the population, that have been born with both. But you can only be a mother or a father biologically. So that's first and foremost. Second, being a parent encompasses all things protecting your child, taking care of your child, i.e. food, clothing, and shelter, giving your child love, and teaching your child what they can do to be a better person and a healthy person. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. That's what a parent should do. So the mom should do this, the dad should do this. So it doesn't matter whether or not you're calling yourself the mom or the dad, but again, genetically speaking, you can only be one. For parents that have raised their children solely without the help of the other biological parent, there's still an opportunity. Every day that you live is another day for you to learn, for you to meet someone, for you to bring other people into your child's lives. Again, for fathers, typically statistics show that's typically easier for men to move on from broken relationships from women, but that's another show and we'll talk about that. But kids can get step parents. They can meet someone else that comes into their lives to be the stepmom and or the stepdad. And most of us know someone of the opposite sex. So you probably know another man or you probably know another woman where your kids will see, oh, well, this is such and such as mom, and that's what a mother is. Oh, this is such and such as dad, and that's what a father is. And so when you tell your children that you're the mom and the father, you're confusing your children on not necessarily their gender roles, but on what these people are supposed to be doing. Again, both moms and dads are supposed to be doing the same thing. Dads are supposed to be going to work, bringing home the bacon. Moms are supposed to be going to work, bringing home the bacon. Dads are supposed to be cooking and cleaning for the kids. Moms are supposed to be cooking and cleaning for the kids. The only time those roles change are if the people in the relationship or in the home agree to do so. We used to see that back in the day, back in the early 1900s, flowing into the 50s, where they had the John Van Dyke show, the Jeffersons and all that good stuff about the dads going to work and the mom staying home taking care of the kids. Doesn't matter who does it. the society that we live in nowadays, those gender roles have long been reversed and or dissipated. So for myself, I was actually the parent that went to work for quite a bit of time in my marriage, and my husband was the stay-at-home dad. And he did a much better job of it because I was so busy on my off days. But he did a great job of making sure the kids got fed. There was always food in the microwave for me when I got home. When I came home, I would glance on the couch sometimes, and the clothes that he had washed and folded up were on the couch ready to be put away. Sometimes he'd make me do it, but that was okay. And or, making sure that the kids had their homework done, where he sat up and did that with the kids. And I always ask him, had the kids stay up a little late so I can go over it with them and try to get some parenting time in. But it doesn't matter. Mom or dad can do it. It's just whatever your household dictates and or whatever you're able to agree to. So moms can do one thing, dads can do something else, but they both parent the same way. And so we shouldn't feel some kind of way about calling ourselves a mother or a father, because if you're a woman, chances are you're a mother. You had a child, you're taking care of a child, you're doing all these things that encompass parenthood. You just have the biological genetics to show that you're a woman. Same with the dad. And so we don't want to bash the fathers, we don't want to bash the mothers that are there, because again, there's an opportunity that you'll meet someone and bring a step to your family. There's also the chance that your child has someone of the opposite sex that's also in their lives helping and supporting, an aunt, a sister, for the young men, whether it's an uncle or a cousin, and or their coaches. Both males and females have coaches. They may have teachers and things at their school that help them out. And so they may see, hey, well, I want to tell my teacher Happy Mother's Day, because then you may grow to confuse your child when they're little. Oh, well, who do I say Mother's Day to? And how does this fall onto it? And so that's something that you want to be mindful of. You are who you are genetically first, and then behind that, everything else. I'm also going to add the caveat, because I do have some friends that are homosexual and that are in same-sex relationships. They actually choose those roles themselves. I know women they're both the wives, they're both the moms. I know some men that are both the dads. I don't know too many people who are in same-sex relationships to say that they're the dad and the other one's the mom. But again, it's up to what you want to do. As I said before, most women, they're both the moms. The kids will say, well, I have two mommies. This is mommy A, this is mommy B. And dads will say, well, I have two dads. This is dad A, this is dad B. I hardly ever hear any of them arguing about who's going to be the mom and who's going to be the dad and which card they're getting for the holiday. So let's try to keep that conversation going. I'm happy to discuss it. As I mentioned, it's April. Father's Day is coming around in a couple months. But I don't think that there's a need, and that's something that we should start shedding and getting behind ourselves with. You're the mom. Be appreciative of being the mom. And on Father's Day, let dads have their day. Same with dads. Let moms have their day. You're the parent 24/7, regardless of who's in their child's lives. And you should appreciate that. And or revel in how tiring and exhausting it is to be a parent. Okay, so we are going to roll into this last question. And let's see. Okay, this is from Jason L. And Jason wanted to know, I'm calling over to get that to return back. Okay, Jason has some issues about dropping his kids off with the mom, and when the kids come back to the mom, they don't have the same clothes that he sent over in, or she's not sending them back dressed appropriately. What's the best way to deal with that? Good question, Jason. As a person that lived in a separate household, of course, I raised our children in a blended family. You have a couple of different options with that. I think that it's best that if you have your kids and your kids also live in a second household or they visit a second household, both of you should have things for your children. So both households should have underpants. Both households should have shampoo and lotion and bobby pins or hairbrushes and things of that nature, because you never know. You simply never know. And when you drop your kids off, if you're having an issue with the parent bringing them back in the nice new Nikes that you brought your kid, or if they're bringing the kids back but not returning the nice dress that you bought your daughter, don't send them in that. Send them in some other play clothes, but always make sure, one, the clothes are clean. Make sure that the clothes fit. Make sure that you comb your kids' hair, brush their hair. Make sure that their teeth are brushed. Make sure that you're taking your child to be with the other parent as you would have them leave the house at any time. We shouldn't be sending our kids out looking crazy at any time, and you certainly don't want to be disrespectful when you take them to the other parent. On the opposite spectrum, if you like to see your kids walking around in those nice shoes, those expensive Jordans that you bought them, save them for when they come back. Or if you got it like that, buy them a pair for the other parent so that your kid can keep it moving on both sides. But that will help eliminate those discussions about, well, I sent them this and she never sent them back. Well, I sent them this and he never sent them back. Don't send them. Don't send them. Just simple as that. But make sure your kid has everything they need. And sometimes you may not have it right away if you're just now starting your blended family situation. But take some time. You know, you can go to any store, even the dollar store, Rite Aid, Walmart, whatever it is. But start picking up things for your kids to make sure your kids also feel comfortable. Because guess what? Kids notice that. They notice when they're at dad's house, well, I only have this in my dad's house, or I only have this in at my dad's house. Or when I go to mom's house, we never have this, we never have snacks. Kids recognize that, and that they turn those things internal to themselves that I'm without. They don't see it as dad doesn't have this or mom doesn't have. They see that I'm without and I'm lacking and I'm the problem. So again, being a healthy parent, you want to make sure that you have everything that your child needs. And going back to the conversation earlier, if you're not sure, ask them, hey, do you have shampoo for her hair? You know I like to shampoo her hair with such and such. Do you have it? Well, if you don't, give them a bottle or tell them this is what I put in her hair. It's made by Johnson & Johnson, or it's made by Afro Sheen, whatever it is. But make sure they're aware so that your kids have some consistency. Same with snacks. I'll hear people saying, well, they never have food when we go over the house. Guess what? You can take some over there too, because it's your child and your child should still be eating. So if you have to take additional snacks or things that they like, feel free to do so, because it's not that you're helping that other parent, even though you are, but you're first and foremost helping your child and making sure that your child is cared for. So whether it's clothes, whether it's food, whether it's hair care products, books are also something that's good to have. I also know parents that their kids have little devices. Well, I don't want to take this device over here because the other kids might play with it, things like that. That's fine. It's not going to kill your kids if they're missing their PS2 for the weekend or they're missing it for a week. But you want to make sure your kids have all the vital things that they need to, one, sustain them as a healthy child, but also to make them feel good knowing that they're respected by both of their parents in both households. And so with that, I am going to close real shortly. So keep in mind, parenting is hard. Parenting is hard. And there are probably 40% of us that went into this saying, I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to make a life for my child with just myself. The other 60%, whatever the circumstances that led it to be what it is, you still have to make the most of it. So going in, complaining and griping and crying is not going to change the situation. Action, positive action, and positive communication will. So this is your weekly reminder that all things healthy family relations starts with you and your circle. Get a good circle. Make sure you're in a supportive church or an organization, whether or not it's fraternity or sorority. Make sure you're engaged with folks that also do the same. You can meet people at your kids' schools. You can meet kids at their Girl Scouts, Eagle Scouts activities and things of that nature. But you want to make sure that you surround yourself with people that can pour into you and your child. So those are people that can also, one, help pick up your kid from activities. Two, also watch your kid if you're coming home late one day and you can't be there. It's about enabling that circle. That also allows you to feed the lines of communication to the other parent to let them know what's going on in your child's life and how they can help you help your child. That makes for a less stressful environment for you. That also helps us to stay away from things that trigger our stress and or that lead to additional stressful situations, such as running around in the streets because you're upset, running and chasing after drugs and alcohol and all those things, and or overall not taking care of yourself because you're stressed about your situation that you don't have support. So again, I implore you to check out my website, www.obf4u.org. Click on our tab for resources and check and see some of the entities that might be there to help you, whether or not it's some information for education, whether or not it's some information for mental health, whether it's parenting skills, whether it's how to deal with your finances, whether it's how to, who you can talk to if you need some support in the family law system and things of that nature. It's certainly there for you, as well as check out our activity calendar and see what's going on for the month or additional months for things that are coming down the pike for yourself and or your kids. Because we have to make sure that as parents, that's our first responsibility to our kids. So kids first after we take care of ourselves, because again, you can't take care of yourself if you're not taking care of you. So with that said, I want to thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Shaynel's 3 Cents. I also want to say, praying for my family and let them know that I love you and I appreciate you as we mourn the loss of my uncle, John Avery Caldwell, who will be laid to rest on Monday. Great dad, great uncle, all-around gentleman that completely understood that it takes two people to parent a child, but it's even better when you have a village. And that village still consists of the rest of my aunts and uncles and my mom. Know that we love you. We'll be there with you, and we'll be there for you as we are with those of you that are calling in and paying attention to the show. I love you, praying that you'll enjoy what we've said today. But remember, if you don't like it, at least you heard it. Thanks for tuning in to Shaynel's 3 Cents. We'll see you next week.
Baby, the moment you left me was the very moment I began to wish for your return.